Hi, I'm Letisha Steele with Same Cafe. Same Cafe means so all may eat. We are the longest running participation-based cafe in the United States. We like to say participation-based instead of pay what you can, because everyone participates in some way for their meal, via through volunteering in exchange for their meal, through monetary donation, or a lot of our urban farmers will bring in fresh produce from their farms to donate in exchange for a meal. We are a locally sourced green restaurant, predominantly organic and sustainable. We've been operating now for 14 years.
Wow.
It will be 14 years in October. So yeah, quite a while.
That is multiple lifetimes in the restaurant industry.
It is.
Sure.
We've helped mentor over 60 other not pay what you can restaurants in the country to get their mission started, including we inspired John Bon Jovi's restaurant, as well as Panera Cares.
So pay what you can. Give us just a little bit more in depth, kind of what that means. Somebody comes to your restaurant, and what's the interaction? What's the expectation kind of in that interaction with the guest?
So we don't really have an expectation as far as like what they would donate for their meal. We don't have any prices in the cafe. It's really what works for your budget. They come in, we have a menu, they order what they would like off the menu. They get served their food. They get to go sit down in the dining room, choose their own table. Just really, it's their choice on what they can do and how they can participate. We found that a lot of the restaurants that try to do this model that have you have to pay this amount, that doesn't really work, especially in times when people are not able to have the funds that they would normally have. You could never expect that, oh, we're going to make our budget work based on, I don't know, $6.84 per guest. That's not something feasible, especially in times like now when $6.84 could be as far away as $1 million for any of our guests.
Yeah, I completely understand that. All right, I want to get into the details a little bit more. First, I want to take people back a little bit. You personally, take us through a little bit of a journey. You know, when and where and how did you find yourself into this crazy industry known as hospitality, food, and beverage? Give us a little bit of the origin story.
Origin story. So I was born and raised in the Appalachian Mountains, well, in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, West Virginia, all through the coal mining belt of Virginia. My dad was a coal miner. My mom sold shoes at Kmart. We are the kind of the picture family that you would see on any of NPR's stories about the coal mining region. My first job was actually at Wendy's in the 80s. I was hired to run the super bar and worked myself up to grill girl, which a grill girl in the 80s was kind of, you know, that was a pretty big deal. After Wendy's, I got my first job at a fine dining restaurant called the Troutdale Dining Room in Tennessee. And our chef, Carol, we called her the Alice Waters of that region. She worked with all the local farmers. She worked with everyone who was producing meats, who were catching trout, to growing their own vegetables. We made every single thing in-house, from the bread to the ice cream, just every sauce. We didn't use anything that was coming in pre-made. And she's who really gave me my love of cooking. She was the toughest woman that I've ever met, which is saying a lot if you grow up in the Appalachian Mountains. And her flavor profile, like I had never seen food like that, like geranium ice cream. Who would have thought? And I don't know, she just really taught me about food and wine and scotch. And it was so different from going to like the country buffet. Just really cool. And so she gave me my love of food. Moved to Colorado in the mid 90s. I worked for Larimer Group, for Cadillac Ranch and Tommy Tsunami's doing pastries. I worked for Jack's and Zolo Grill, the Flagstaff House. So my first entry into cooking was really the pastry side. Okay. I took that, I moved to Maui, and I worked for a really wonderful restaurant there on the beach. Moved back to Colorado, 2003. Decided to get my degree in counseling psych. I thought I was going to leave the restaurant industry for some crazy reason. Started working at Cuba Cuba with Christy and Enrique, and really got my love for making Cuban food. Eventually went to work for Dan Landis, running Watercourse Bakery, and worked with him for 5 years. Then went to work with Enrique again for a short spell at Revelry. And again, during this whole time, I was predominantly doing pastries. And then I went to work for Bob Blair at Fuel. And Bob Blair,
great guy.
Oh man, I love him. He's like so inspiring to be within a kitchen, and he teaches you, like he really wants you to learn. And he gave me that big opportunity to shift from doing pastries to doing savory. And it was just a life-changing experience. The products that he was working with, the team that he was curating, it was just phenomenal. Also during this time, I was getting a little kind of disheartened with the restaurant industry. There's a lot of addiction that takes place. Unfortunately, there was a lot of misogyny in different restaurants that I had worked in. And I just didn't know if I could keep doing it. I had also gotten involved with working with Work Options for Women. I was doing their women cook events, and then I would go and like volunteer to help the students out at WOW. And through that path, I started falling in love with the idea of going into the nonprofit sector. And around this time, the founders of Same Cafe, they were hiring someone to take over for Brad Berkey, who was doing the operations and all of the cooking. And they hired me. And so Brad was able to step down. And then the other founder, Libby, she stepped down a short time later, and we got a new executive director. And I just feel like now my career has moved from a place where everything was more of a luxury to really cooking with intention and making beautiful, delicious, healthy food available to everyone. To be able to work with the ingredients that we get to work with and give everyone a 5-star experience with 5-star ingredients is something that is really special to me. I did grow up in what people would have perceived as poverty, and I'm the first woman to graduate college in my family. And
Wow.
I don't know, it's just kind of like a really cool thing to get to come to work, and everyone knows, no matter where they're at on the socioeconomic ladder, that you see their worth and that you value them and that you honor their dignity. So it's just really cool to get to do that.
Yeah, I want to crystallize for people the mission that you have, and then I want to talk about some details. I want to go back just a little bit and hover on some of your career. So you've made your bones, as we like say in the industry. Like, you have worked at a lot of legit places at a high level, been on a lot of great restaurant teams. So like, you have that level of hustle and credibility when it comes to like the restaurant side. And so I want to connect those dots, because a lot of times, I mean, I've been guilty of it. When you're at a certain level of restaurant, you think that anybody who's not at that level can't cook as good as you, can't do X, Y, and Z, whatever it is, as good. They don't have the chops like you do. You're wrong, right? I was wrong, right? So I think about that, and I want to make sure that people understand, and that I understand, that you absolutely have the chop for sure. So I want to make sure that that is absolutely clear to everybody listening, watching, for sure. If you don't know, look up the restaurants that you've listed off. Sophie will have some of them tagged up in the comments, and just know. All right. So I'm setting the table for people there. So then let's go into, now it is a transition for sure. And I'm sure at first you're like thinking about, you're like, is it really going to be the food at the caliber that I want? And very quickly you understood that it was, and that there was true intention behind actually being at the level of the food quality that you're used to, that I'm sure the standards that you hold are super high. So take us into that now, those early days in the kitchen, kind of navigating your understanding as a chef, and then connecting the dots between the nonprofit sector and how I'm sure the business model is different. So give us a little bit of that.
So as far as switching over from working in a traditional kitchen where you have everyone that was, so highly skilled, from the prep cook, the dishwasher, to the sous chef, to everyone working on the line, walking into the nonprofit sector, especially in a place where you're working with volunteers every day, a lot of folks that are volunteering in exchange for their meal. I would say the first couple of months, I was really green with that. It was like, oh no, this onion has to be cut this way, or trying to shift from calling a 9 pan to a small pan, and then getting everyone kind of trained on like, oh, they want to know what a 9 pan is. Like, they want to know that jargon. They want to feel included. Like, that was probably the most difficult part. But then you were also working with people that wanted to be in the restaurant. They wanted to help you with dishes. They wanted to do the work that in most other restaurants, people would be like, that's below me. I don't want to go back to doing that. So it was really cool to do that. It was so cool to work with the farmers. I remember my first summer here getting in Turkish eggplant. I'm sure you've seen it. It looks like a persimmon.
Yep.
But I had to look it up. I had never encountered a Turkish eggplant before. And that just really started showing me like, wow, we are getting in beautiful heirloom produce and the most impeccable products. And I really want to showcase these. The founders, they were doing a really good job with the food that they were making. We had come from 2 different backgrounds, and I really wanted to take everything that I had learned through my 30 years of being in kitchens from the Appalachian Mountains to Hawaii and really put those flavors into the menu that we were doing and getting more creative. And it would be so cool when you would go out to one of our lovely farm to table restaurants that we have here in Denver, and they have something so similar to what you just ran that day in the cafe that, maybe someone who's experiencing housing insecurity that's actively living on the streets at this point, they get to come in and they get to enjoy that same caliber of food, and they get to come into the kitchen and they get to make that food with you, and they get to participate, and you just start seeing how it really starts changing people's lives when they get to make food with you. And it gave me my love of cooking back, that kind of angst that I had been feeling in kitchens before and frustration. That really went away because I knew that what I was doing, even if it was like, oh, this is for me, it did make me feel so good to get to cook that way. And no matter whatever hardest day I had here, it was always the best day of any other restaurant that I ever worked at, just because I got to work with folks that really wanted to be here and felt needed. So that was super cool.
Talk about volunteers. When you say volunteers, how do they get organized? How do they come about? Like, give us a little bit of kind of the mechanics of volunteers, who then is working in the kitchen. Maybe a little bit. I'm fascinated with how you actually project out, meal plans and menus and prep and revenues. I'm sure, let's not get crazy in the weeds, but I might pull at a couple of these threads. But volunteers, how do those volunteers come about?
We have a couple of different volunteers. We have volunteers that go online and they sign up for like a 3-hour shift. But a lot of our volunteers are just walking in and saying, when we're like, oh, how would you like to participate for your meal today? They say they want to volunteer, and they just sign up for a half-hour shift. And they, some people will do some stuff in the dining room. A lot of the people will come back to the kitchen and help us, break asparagus. They'll help us make sauces. They will really just participate at the prep table with all of us, which is so cool because then you get to know people's stories, which is really fantastic. Right now we are in the middle, we're starting harvest season. So we're having farms drop off 80 pounds of freshly harvested asparagus a couple of times a week. So we really need people that know how to break it. So yeah, we do that. And
so how do you go about training? I mean, knowing kitchens, we know you bring in commie cooks and you might be training for 2-3 weeks, a month to get some of the techniques you're talking about, simple techniques even sometimes. You're talking about people that potentially have no experience whatsoever. So how are you practically going about that? And then I'm very interested in how you adjusted to that, because I'm sure the kitchens that you've been in, precision was of the utmost, and it's a very different expectation potentially.
I think it's a lot of what we do is, number one, it's the health and safety, like teaching people how to wash their hands first, get them at the prep table, go through a quick thing of, this is how you're going to set up your cutting board, and this is how you're going to hold the knife. And then you multitask what you're doing, kind of watch them, give them pointers, not beat them up if something's not a perfect chiffonade or a perfect dice, but just keep working with them. And the more comfortable you make them feel, the more they want to come back into the kitchen, and they actually feel more proud of doing something like in a perfect way than I would think most people in a traditional restaurant feel. Like a lot of our guests take a lot of pride in the work that they do, and they take a lot of pride in knowing that they got to help. So yeah, it's super quick training, but I think if you have the ability to see beyond your prep station and just always be checking in, that the training goes a little easier. And you might have to refresh them the next time they come in, and that's totally fine. A lot of these folks have bigger things on their mind besides remembering how to dice that carrot. But you just keep working with them and you create community.
Do you find that they don't take for granted the work that they're doing? That sometimes, I definitely have, and plenty of us in the industry absolutely have, where we just take for granted the opportunity that we're given to be able to work?
I don't think that any of our volunteers take for granted that opportunity. If anything, they feel like they get more joy from it. When someone has been coming in for a while, and traditionally they just do things in the front of the house, when they come back to the kitchen, they just feel so much more a part of the team. And we do, like, if we're prepping a vegetable like kohlrabi, if someone's never tried kohlrabi before, then we'll slice off a piece and let them try it and make sure that it's really engaging. And having that camaraderie, like, we have some of our volunteers that will drop in for a half hour and we're playing music in the kitchen. And you could be having the crappiest day, and then you're working with a volunteer that's singing and dancing along with you while you're prepping at the table. And it reminds you, I think, of why you got into cooking and why you love cooking so much. It's like having a dinner party at your house and everyone's there participating. And it might not be the perfect cut, but it is a cut that is good enough. And you really empowered someone to be a part of that process.
Give us an idea of the size and scope. We say volunteers. How many people are coming in and volunteering in a given day, let's say? How many meals are you putting out in a given day?
Before COVID, we were having probably about maybe 12 different walk-in volunteers a day and 6 scheduled volunteers. Our staff is actually really small. We run predominantly on volunteers. Meals pre-COVID, a slow day for lunch. We're just open from 11 until 2:30. A slow lunch would be 50 to like 60 on a slow day, a busy day, 70 to over 100. Now that we're in COVID, we're serving about 250 people a day.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow. That's a big number.
It is a big number. We have people that walk up to the cafe. We've been making to-go meals that they just get from whoever is working outside. And then we also have partnered with Denver Human Services to feed a lot of the folks that have been displaced by COVID that are currently staying in hotels, a lot of families that have had to be quarantined for different reasons. So yeah, we've seen in our teeny tiny kitchen, we are feeding a lot of people right now.
And the numbers from kind of normal flow state for you, I guess my question is, why aren't they bigger? We know that there's a massive need and demand for that. Is there stigma? Is it just you can only take on that many people? Like, give us an idea of that dynamic.
Before COVID, our dining room sat 38 to 40 people at a time, depending on if the patio was open or not. So we serve as many people as we can serve within that time frame. Gotcha. Also honoring that people want to come in. We have a lot of business meetings here. A lot of people will come in and use this as their office space. So we actually feed people all across the economic spectrum. You'll have someone who's experiencing extreme hardship sitting at the same table with someone who could be a millionaire. We have a lot of teachers and students, just people with like that are in walking distance to our cafe that come here for lunch. So it's not just like the folks who are experiencing homelessness that are coming here. It's really, we're a community cafe on Capitol Hill that really caters to everyone. We do, we have menus that have vegan options, gluten-free options. We really honor a lot of the different food restrictions that people have. We also have a lot of guests that come in that have different health issues that have to have a very specific menu. So yeah, we're just probably more of a community cafe that lets you participate how you can.
Now let's talk about the participation. So everybody is welcome, from the millionaire to somebody who is in need of a meal, literally like just needing to be fed for the day. Talk about the exchange a little bit. How does that interaction work? You know, because I want to make people feel comfortable. I want to make people that are in the industry that are doing well, industry that are not doing well, and we have a lot of both, to feel like this is a place that they can come. And if I come there and I bring my wife and my 2 sons and we have a meal, how then do we participate as somebody who may not in that moment be in need?
Right. So you would order the same exact way. You would come into the cafe the exact same way, place your order. We do counter service. So as you order, we make your food and prepare it for you, and then you can take it out to your table. We have different beverages. Pablo sponsors our coffee program. Titulia sponsors our tea program. We make in-house sodas with like all the different herbs and flowers that we get in. We do different syrups for that. Get your beverage. And then after you get your meal, we just say, hey, how would you like to participate? And then you let us know. We do have a transparent budget posted on our wall. A lot of our guests that weren't in extreme economic hardship, they would get really confused of like, well, what is a fair like give me a ballpark. So we just posted a budget of like, this is basically the cost of the ingredients that are on your plate.
Gotcha.
This is the kind of average donation for what a lot of guests give. And then this is the donation if you want to help cover everything as far as like the wages, the lights, the internet, like all of that, including the ingredients. And this would be what that budget would be. But it is totally anonymous. You run your card for what you think is fair for your meal, or you put cash into the box. It's never, we never want people to feel like they haven't given enough, or that they're less than because someone before them gave more. So we make it all anonymous.
We just had Robert Egger on, who,
Yes.
I mean,
He's
icon.
at our gala
Absolutely.
last year.
Yeah, he is. Wow, what a lightning rod, and the work that he's done. You know, the community kitchen, changing the model. Right, he has a lot to say about the soup kitchen for sure. So I'm interested in that because it's hard. He's done a really good job having that like nightclub background of being very media savvy and making it cool to engage and interact, and then having presidents doesn't hurt, all that kind of stuff. Celebrities. So I think about that with your model, and I'm very interested how somebody, again, with the chops of the restaurant and understands the dining experience at a super high level and has the food quality and is bringing all those things to play, maybe some opportunities or even challenges that you're facing, and like making sure that people know like this is as good as you're going to get anywhere else in the city. Like, talk to us about that for a moment.
I feel, I actually feel really lucky with that. Because of my past culinary career, I feel like Mark from the Westward,
Mark Antonation.
Yeah, he's been really good about actually writing about our food and writing about what we do. And Denise from 5280 has been really awesome. And I think when you have folks like that are not just talking about the mission, but really talking about the quality of food, that it makes people that wouldn't normally feel comfortable coming into a Pay What You Can cafe feel comfortable. And also, I'm consistently giving shout outs to our farms. Like, we partner with Ecar Farms, which is a nonprofit farm over on Alameda. We partner with Denver Botanic and their Chatfield Gardens they grow for us. Kiowa Family Farms, Monroe Farms. Like, we really get to work with some amazing farmers and farms.
Just so everyone knows, these are like the legit places that farm to table, that Food and Wine is writing about, or New York Times Food is writing about. These are the farms that they're using.
Yeah, and Altius Farms, they grow for us as well. So
they're great. Their greens are awesome.
Their greens are amazing, and we've been working with Sally long before COVID hit, and during COVID, like, they have been just so amazing. Like, every week they will bring us like 100 pounds of all of their beautiful greens so that we can still make salads and sandwiches and things like that for all of the additional people that we're serving. So it is so cool to get to work with these folks and to know that they really just want great food to be out and available to everyone, that healthy food should be accessible to everyone, that getting access to healthy food should be a right and not a privilege. And it's so great to get to work with organizations that kind of believe the same thing that we believe.
Okay. Last two things I want to touch on as we kind of wrap this up. I want to understand how people can interact and engage, and how they can support just coming to the restaurant. Are there other ways? Where do they need to go? Like, give us an idea of, I'm in Denver, I want to come down and have a great meal, pre and post COVID. Give us an idea of the general run of show, as far as hopefully that's what is coming next. But also today, how can people interact?
So today you can just come down to the cafe and get a meal. If you're wanting to make a donation or anything like that, then you can just go to our website, and there's a link for you to make a monetary donation through Colorado Gives. We also have our wish list up on Amazon. So if we were ever needing something, people could just purchase it through Amazon. We are going to be doing some renovations starting on Friday due to COVID. So we're just going to be doing handing out sandwiches for the next couple of weeks. I think it's the 22nd through the 5th. With all of the changes that have come up, like, we have to basically do a mini remodel on the cafe so that we can continue to serve and make sure that it's a safe environment for everyone.
Okay, let's end with this. I want to get everyone salivating a little bit and saying, wow, whatever I'm cooking at home right now is not as good as this. Give us a couple things on the menu that you as a chef just go, damn, I am so lucky that I'm cooking this, and the fact that I get to do it in this model that's so meaningful. It's everything. I know it fuels you. So give us a couple things on the menu
Well, my favorite is probably our bibimbap bowl. We do all of our kimchis and everything in house, and
Oh, you're speaking my language
that's
now.
I love eating bowls. Like I think from being in Hawaii, that's what I love. And our Latin bowl, I love. That's kind of my little throwback to working at Cuba Cuba and doing the Cuban black beans and the platano maduros and the chimichurri sauce. And then we do this wonderful urban goddess bowl where we sprout mung beans. And that bowl is just really based on everything that we're getting from our farms. That's been delivered this week. So those are some of my favorites.
Those are some of my favorites. I haven't even eaten those, and they're already some of my favorites. I really appreciate that. You said bibimbap, and you're making kimchi. Like this is again. I'm going to hammer this home. This is the stuff that we as chefs like aspire to cook. These are the things that are super hot right now when it comes to the styles of cuisine and the presentation that we're really into. And so I think it's amazing that you're doing that, and the fact that you're doing fermentation in house, like that is a huge life skill for the way that people can preserve food. And
Right.
I'm super into all of that. People need to engage with this. This is the kind of stuff that you're going to the hip new fast casual joint that just popped up that's doing Korean bowls or Mexican bowls or anything like that you're paying $16, $18 a bowl for, and you have the opportunity to pay what you can and support others who maybe cannot. So any last thoughts? This is a great conversation, and now I'm super hungry. I'm intermittent fasting right now, so I don't eat my first meal until after the show. Sometimes, like today, that it gets to me. I'm gonna have to go eat really quick before my post debrief with Sophie, because your food sounds amazing. I love it.
Thank you. I guess last thing is I feel so fortunate to be here. It's really a gift to get to cook for the folks that we serve, to get to work with the community that we serve, and to really honor that every one of our guests has dignity, that money doesn't buy you dignity. You inherently have dignity. And we're just so fortunate to get to do what we do. So thank you for having me on and letting me talk a little bit about our organization.
I love it. If it captivates one person, two people, 100 people, it really, really has the opportunity to make a difference. And it all is from good people connecting good people. I want to give a shout out to our friend Rich Anderson, who I had not met before. Great guy. Awesome. I have multiple guests coming up on the show, including Robert Egger, who was on the show from Connections from Rich. And so many of our guests on this show come from connections from other people, because they say, you know what, I love your mission, and you got to talk to this person. And my answer is always, always, always yes. Absolutely. I want to talk to anybody and everybody. Just got a question. Address. Let's give people a quick shout out for the address.
2023. It's 2023 East Colfax. We're right between Race and Vine, right beside of Mulberry's Cupcake Shop.
2023 East Colfax. We'll get that in there as well. Check out the website. I was really interested in the Amazon wish list. I think that is a very smart play. We all are so much more comfortable. Great grandparents are using Amazon now, for better or worse. Yet now more and more people can engage in a very clever digital landscape. And again, it speaks to your forward thinking, the way that you're creating this dynamic. There we go. 223 East Colfax, next to Mulberry.
Yeah, right beside of Mulberry's Cake Shop.
Mulberry's Cake Shop. All right. Letisha Steele, really appreciate talking with you. Love the work that you're doing. The bibimbap bowl, man, you're really making me starving over here. And I really appreciate that, because I think it's important, because you guys are making a model that is very different than our expectation, and we don't quite understand it. And sometimes people fear what they don't understand, but you're making it cool and delicious, and that meaningful mission that you have, I think it's really resonating. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right. Appreciate you. Have a great day.
You
Cheers.
Too. Cheers.
All right. Oh, Sophie is on it. Get her out of here. All right. That was a great show. Rich Anderson, again, thank you so much. There we go. Thanks for the nod. You guys rock. All right. Appreciate you, Rich. So keep connecting us. Like, I'm going to talk to anybody and everybody that you connect me with. I am not just up here speaking lip service to that. It really matters to me. The acknowledgement that others give to humans in hospitality, that's what fuels me. That's what fuels this show. So make it happen for sure. Sophie, you want to come in here and give us the top 5 takeaways? Yes. A new function of the show, people. We're trying to get really savvy here with the technology. So Sophie,
Hello.
she can bring herself into the show. You don't need me.
What's up?
So Sophie Breaker, you're gonna see a lot more of Sophie here. She is content manager. She's the one behind the scenes actually making it all happen. So I can just get up here and flap my gums. And all the live commenting that you always see, that's all Sophie, very thoughtfully kind of pulling out the threads of the show. So awesome show once again.
Yeah.
No thanks to me, but amazing to have Letisha Steele on. What are a couple of takeaways that you have kind of listening to us speak?
Yeah. I really love the farm to table stuff. And I think she was so thoughtful and wonderful and talking about not just like everybody from every social economic class should be able to have food that's good food and it's healthy and it's farm to table. And I think so much of the time we're always like, oh no, that's only for like rich people. But no, like everybody should have this food and everybody has to eat, you know? Nobody wants to eat bad food.
Everybody has to eat. I thought it was very interesting, you know, somebody who's in need and a millionaire in that scenario. And whatever, that's like maybe the biggest, broadest difference possible. Yet I think it illustrates the fact that like everybody could have the same experience and fall in love with kimchi for the first time, or have their favorite dish that they have and go every week, or it's something their grandmother cooked, whatever that is. It doesn't matter where you are in that economic class or in your own lifespan, that you can be a part of that. I think is super cool. So great. This is awesome. I'm going to love having this post-show debrief with you as well.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap this up. Appreciate you guys all. Great Monday show. And have a good one. Go check out Same Cafe or any type of model like this in your community. I think we're going to see more and more of these as regular restaurants, have had to pivot, a lot of air quotes today, and figure out a way to truly serve their community. And Same Cafe and many like it are doing that across the country, truly, truly serving their community. So thank you so much. Cheers.